games. I believe it's one of the first games that you hear about that has an element of cooperation to it. Like, a lot of like the games you first play, like the first tabletop games like Monopoly and Risk, even like the classic ones like chess. There's always an element of competitiveness. It's you against the other players. D&D not so much. D&D, a lot of people can sort of see it as the players against the DM, but even that's not true. Or it shouldn't be true. The relationship between player and DM should never be truly antagonistic, if you get what I'm saying. Like it should never feel like a game between you and whoever your DM is. Or if you're DMing, it should never be like this game between you and the players. When you're DMing, it's a different thing, because you kind of want to keep your guys in line. You don't want Bastion just to go, oh, I killed that zombie over there, and you were like, but that was a quest giver zombie. I don't know if you would ever give if you would ever make a zombie a quest giver, but what was I saying? Oh yeah, the cooperative elements of D&D. It's kind of an unspoken rule that no matter what your team comp is, no matter who's a paladin, who's a rogue or a thief, or no matter what the class compatibilities are, there's kind of an unspoken rule of these players will work together. And in my current group, last game, in one of my groups, the DM actually made us promise that we would kind of play nice with each other. Bold of him to assume that we would make good on that promise. Basic basic human decency comes into play. Like, of course, we all want to have fun and play the game, except with the exception of myself and I think another player. I think we had two new guys, who had never played D&D before, and one of them was kind of more conservative. They chose to be a cleric, and an actual cleric. I think their domain was like the god of beauty or something like that. I forget what it might have been actually Saloon. That's not important to the story. The other was a bit more unfettered in his character creation. Kind of that new guy unfettered, where you kind of see the first cool thing that in the book, and you're like, I want to be that. And to illustrate this point, he played a dragonborn warlock. So I'm gonna. They're going to watch this, and they know I don't mean to insult them. So the two main players in the story, I'm going to refer to as Evil and Zeus. And Evil was the guy who was playing the Dragonborn Warlock, which again is kind of like that newbie unfettered character creation, you know, because I get to be a dragon person, and I can just throw spells. Sign me up. Um, and to kind of trip the light fantastic, to butcher a phrase, I know that's not what that means. Um, he, his warlock's patron was, what was it? It was Eldritch Nature, and it lived inside of his character, and she gained her powers from cannibalism. So she ate people. And in fact, that was kind of a caveat upon her death, was if she ever died, the Eldritch being inside of her would consume her and consume everyone else, like, in a nearby radius. The DM allowed this. And, you know, that's actually a really fun character. I liked it. I really liked, kind of the guts. You know, the guts for this character. You know, the only one who really kind of didn't like it was Zeus, who was playing a cleric. And he kind of did the paladin thing. You know, the thing that you dread paladins do. So the story that I'm about to tell, I've kind of set the stage for. And to tell you kind of what happened. Okay, so first of all, it was the first session for this game. We had all made our characters the previous week, and we all, you know, said, okay, today we play. So we were, so it was the first session of the game, and so kind of to bring us together, the story sort of brought us together by way of kind of a trade baroness. We were brought in front, we were all summoned through various means. I was playing a thief, and I was kind of playing it up like I was a thief informant to the Bard town patrol, and I don't think we kind of understood what each other was going for. But anyway, yeah, so we all kind of got summoned to this mansion inside the city, where our benefactor, who was basically a trade baroness, her particular trade was silk. She calls us basically because someone has been smuggling a narcotic in her silk shipments, and said narcotic was kind of the big drug in the setting. And so our benefactor was kind of no nonsense, and she kind of gives us an opening like, now, is there any reason why I shouldn't trust you guys? Zeus, right away, the cleric, it points to Evil's character and says, she eats people. Oh, and before I tell you what happens, I'm going to tell you what I would have done as a DM. Because that's kind of a jerk move, you know? It's kind of like, I don't like your character, or I'm gonna punish you for that move. Even if the intention wasn't there, that's a bad move. That's no good. You know, the only person who should be punishing players is the DM. So, what I would have done is I would have had the benefactor go, "Oh yes, yes, dear, I know that, but desperate times come for desperate times and all that." You know, kind of playing it off because like that's kind of the benefactor's role. The, and that's kind of a glaring thing. Um, that's kind of a glaring thing. Like, it, she should have known that Evil's character eats people, since that was why she was in jail. So, like, and of course, Evil's kind of playing it up like, oh, like, kind of playing it off as is accused. I'm only accused of eating people. You have no proof. You know, that whole thing. So what actually happens is that the DM knocks evil characters out, and then he's like, "Does anybody want to save Evil's character?" And what am I saying? Um, and it's our first session. We all kind of knew each other from before. Like, we're all part of the same like forum group. Um, but like at this point, our characters don't know each other that well, and you know this lady has been locked up. So like has been locked up, and you know we've only heard about the eating people thing. So of course we're not going to vouch for him. Like eventually, like we metagamed it, you know, just like fine, like we'll keep an eye on her, like. But that's not like none of our characters were at that point with her where like I would like my character the thief would have stood up and said it's as dark as her powers may be, I would lay down my life for her. You know, that kind of devotion. We were not at that point yet. Like, and really the first session should be building the fellowship. Like, we had one combat before that, but it wasn't anything like one of us saved each other another's life, which might have been a better way to go about it. It was just basically um, it was just basically okay. Vouch for his character, and none of us were at that point yet. Like, and like that was kind of a shoddy way of building the fellowship. And when I say building the fellowship, I do mean like Lord of the Rings, building the fellowship. You know, the moment of, you know, you have my axe, you have my sword, you know, um, that moment where we're all fighting for the same goal. We weren't there yet. I don't think we got there. All things told, um, but Evil did get his revenge, as he sends a beholder to Zeus's temple. Um, is that going way too far in revenge? I don't know, but that's the code. um, like one of my like, and I think about this building the fellowship because like I listened to TFS, Team 4 Star, and kind of their way of building fellowships, building, you know, characters that may not be the best of friends, especially for one shots. They might not be the best of friends at first, but they're on each other's side. And I guess the a big mistake was having a warlock with an obviously evil patron mingle with a cleric. Maybe better role playing should have been done. I don't know, but like when you think about Team 4-Star or TFS at the table, you have a merman monk, a donkey bard, a donkey donkey centaur bard, and a half elf. I think he's a rogue. And kind of the way they framed building that fellowship was that the rogue Ezra basically took Eloy the Bard as a mark and was very was very protective of Eloy as a mark, and then Wake was like kind of protective of Eloy to Wade the monk. He was very protective of Eloy, kind of to steer him away from the con man. And they eventually became the best of friends. But one of my favorite ways that Lanny Pator did building the Fellowship in his series Roll With Me was because his group is sort of like a noble, a nobleman, a cat boy wizard, and a snake rogue, and his, I don't know, and so his way of building the Fellowship was kind of creating an NPC that everyone, like, you kind of love to hate him. He created an NPC who was basically sort of a paladin, or kind of a parody of a paladin, who had some history with the rogue because he stopped a little scheme of his, but instead of like a paladin, innocently like thinking that he may change his ways, he's kind of like rubbing it in, like, you're here licking your wounds, are you? Not like, I'm glad that you're changing your ways. A drink on me, but like, So he was not endearing himself to the others, and like he was kind of a central figure for everyone to hate. Which is really funny, and I really like that. So to take away from that was my story about one of kind of the funniest and kind of weirdly kind of a story about me disagreeing with the DM, and a story about one of my groups and character compatibility. The lesson, if there's any lesson to take away from this, it's don't squeal on your token evil teammate in the first session. I think that's a lesson that we all can appreciate.